welcome back to another episode of Surviving Me. Today, I want to talk about something a lot of us don't admit out loud. What happens when survival isn't your whole identity anymore? When the dust settles, when the chaos stops, when a person who hurt you isn't in your life anymore, when a trauma has been named, unpacked, cried over, and released, what's left? A lot of people think the hardest part of healing is leaving the pain. But honestly, one of the hardest part is facing a version of you that lives after the pain. Who you are without the struggle that shaped you. Who are you without the heartbreak? Who are you without the drama? Who are you when life finally gets quiet and you're forced to meet yourself? Yeah, that's a little deep, but let's get into it. So segment 1 is when survival becomes a personality. Let's be real. Many of us built our identities during some of the worst seasons of our lives. Like, we learned how to be strong so we wouldn't fall apart, how to stay busy so we wouldn't feel, how to hyper and depend on ourselves because nobody ever showed up, how to fight through everything because life never gave us softness, or how to stay on high alert because chaos always followed us. And eventually, that becomes who we think we are. Not because it's who we wanted it to be, but because it's who we had to be. Survival becomes a default, a reflex, a lifestyle. And then when the healing comes in and it says, baby, you don't have to be in fight mode anymore. Relax, mama got you. We are okay. And instead of feeling free, you feel lost, which is like so bizarre. It's like, oh my God, I just went through all this healing. I did all this healing work. I made sure I've been showing up, doing all the necessary things I needed to feel better. And now I feel completely lost. Like, who am I? What is in store for me next? What does life have in store for me next? And that can get tough. Nobody talks about that after the healing and after the trauma and after you've done all the work. Like, that could get hard. Segment 2 is the confusion of peace. Nobody talks about how uncomfortable peace is when you lived your whole life waiting for something to go wrong. Nobody tells you that healing can feel like boredom or like emptiness or like grieving a version of you that knew how to survive anything. Because survival gave you purpose. It gave you focus. It gave you adrenaline. It gave you something to fight, something to protect, something to outrun. But peace asks you to be still, to be soft, to trust, to breathe, to allow love in, to allow support in, to let yourself rest. All of that, if you really think about it, if you've been in survival mode for so long, is the hardest thing you could ever do, because you don't know how to do it, because all you've been doing is driving off of that adrenaline, that always needing to fight, always needed to protect something, always needed to outrun something. And now it's like, hold on, it's quiet. You're telling me to trust the process. I gotta breathe. Like, yeah, it get deep. And sometimes that feels scarier than the actual chaos that you was living in. So segment 3 is, who am I when I'm not fixing anything? Here's the question to ask yourself. Who am I when I'm not fighting for my life? Who am I when a problem is gone? Who am I when there's nobody to save? Nothing to prove wrong. Nobody draining me. Healing will sit you in a room with your true self and say, okay, the war is over, baby. Now let's find out who you really are. After all of that, after all that pain, after everything you've been through, after everything you learned, let's fully find out who you really are now. And that's when the real work begins. Because now you have to explore what you like now, what you want, what you enjoy, what you need, what you believe, what you feel, what you dream about. All of that. You have to go through all of that all over again, because you are a new person, whether you like to admit it or not. And that is hard, but we can do it. Because while you just faced all that trauma, you just did all that survival, and now it's time to be peaceful and you want to run? Put them gloves back on and say, we're ready. Because not what trauma shaped you into, not what survival forced you to become, but who you actually are at your core. And then segment 4 is letting go of the strong version of you. I'm going to say something that might hit home, because I tend to do that. Sometimes the strong version of you was really the unhealed version of you. The version of you who didn't trust anybody, who didn't know how to receive love, who didn't feel safe, who had no boundaries, who carried everything alone, who hid them emotions, who played it tough, keep choosing people who hurt her or him, didn't know rest, softness, or joy. The version of you wasn't strong. They were surviving, literally. And letting them go can feel like losing a part of yourself because that's all you ever known. But that wasn't you. That was your armor you. Healing is the moment you finally take off the armor and meet the person underneath. Meet that person, that true core person underneath. And segment 5 is the fear of that new identity. The fear isn't, who am I now? The fear is, what if I don't know how to live without the pain God in me? Now, that might be tough to really sit and ask yourself that, because, baby, it was tough for me. Because I'm like, damn, what if I'm so damaged to the point where all I know is chaos? All I know is toxic. And it's to the point where, like, I don't know how to live without it. And my default go into every situation needing that toxic because that's what I lived off of for so long. That's hard to really sit with yourself. It's like, what if that's the case? But no. Or it could even be, what if I don't know how to be loved correctly? Because I thought that was love. I thought that was the love for me. I thought that was my person. And now I'm sitting and I'm having to be faced with, baby, that was not your person. That wasn't love. Love doesn't hurt you. Love fills you. Love fuels you. Love makes you feel good, okay? If you feel it in your soul. And if that person wasn't doing that for you, that wasn't love. But because you stayed in that for so long, that's what you believed love to be. And that was like, what if I don't even know how to be loved correctly? What if peace feels foreign? What if I actually deserve ease but don't know how to receive it? Segment 6 is who you become after survival. Let me tell you who you become. After the trauma is named, after the healing begins, after the survival mode softens, you become more intentional, more gentle, more aware, more open, more peaceful, more emotionally stable, more patient with yourself, not just with others. And you even become selective with the people you have in your circle now. You're more grounded. You're more aligned. Clock that T, honey. Yes. You start enjoying things for the true beauty of what they bring. You start hearing your intuition louder than your fears. You start making decisions from peace instead of panic. You start building a life that feels like safety, not survival. You become someone you never met before, but you love them. It's someone you always was meant to be. Segment 7 is a guided reflection. Let's take a deep breath, because that was a lot. Now put your hand on your chest and ask yourself softly, who am I becoming now that I don't have to survive anymore? And let that question open something in you. Diving right into the affirmations. Repeat after me. I am safe to rest. I am safe to be soft. I am safe to grow. I am safe to receive. And I am safe to live a life beyond survival. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Surviving Me. If it spoke to you, if it touched something in you, just know you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply meeting yourself for the first time without the trauma leading the way. Make sure you join the Facebook group, follow the IG page, sign up for the glow letters, and check out the link tree to send in your story to be a guest. And as always, keep surviving, keep healing, and keep becoming. Because no matter what page of healing you're on, you're not alone and you're not behind. Keep going through it, keep growing through it, and keep glowing through it. And I will see you next episode.
I've battled the silence, I've wrestled the shame, faced all my demons and